Good morning, Councillor DeGenova. Can you hear us in the chamber?
Yes, I can. Thanks, Leslie. Can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Morning, Council. It is past 9:30, so we'll get going with the Council meeting today of October 19th, 2021. This Council meeting is being convened by electronic means as authorized under Part 14 of the Procedure Bylaw, the City of Vancouver electronic meetings. As such, Council members may participate in person or by electronic means, and we have a combination today. Please note if my connection isn't lost. If a council member attending by electronic means loses connection during the voting process, staff are available to get you back online quickly while the voting process is suspended. And all this information should have been circulated to you. Video of council members speaking, presentations, and vote results will be projected on the live stream when available. And in accordance with section 14.13 of the procedure bylaw, members must enable their video to confirm quorum. Of course, as always, we recognize and acknowledge that we're on the unceded traditional territories, the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people, and thank them for having care for this land. Look forward to working with them in partnership as we continue to build this great city together. As always, I want to recognize the contributions of City of Vancouver staff, many of whom were out cleaning drains this weekend, so thanks a lot for all that work during the heavy rain. And thanks for all the work that you do to make our city a better place. Can we have the roll call, please, Clerk?
Mayor Stewart in the chair. Councillor Bly. Councillor Boyle. Councillor Carr.
Here.
Councillor DeGenova.
Present.
Councillor Dominato is on a leave of absence until 10 a.m. Councillor Fry.
Here.
Councillor Hardwick. Councillor Kirby-Young.
Present.
Councillor Swanson.
Here.
Councillor Wiebe.
Present.
You have quorum, Mayor Stewart.
Thanks very much. So we'll just go through the plan for the day. Public is strongly urged to listen to the proceedings via the city's website or on YouTube link, and to follow along at Twitter. Follow along on Twitter at Vancity Clerk is the handle for updates on the progress of the meeting. Any comments on agenda items can be sent to council using a web form on the city's website. The link to that form is also on Twitter at Vancity Clerk. I also want to note that Vancouver's longstanding commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion, including utmost respect for all genders. So to remind council that when addressing speakers and staff, we'll avoid using gendered honorifics and instead refer to the person by first and last name, role, or title. And today we have one proclamation, 2 administrative items, 2 items of unfinished business, 18 bylaws, 1 administrative motion, 1 council member's motion, notice of council members' motions, and then new business inquiries and other matters. So the plan for the day is we'll go until noon, then we'll break for lunch, return at 1 p.m. And just to note, there's no in-camera meeting today, so that should help us get through our regular agenda more rapidly. Before we get to the regular items, there's a proclamation, Waste Reduction Week. So we have a proclamation to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Waste Reduction Week in Canada. Waste Reduction Week is a year-round campaign focused on waste reduction and resource conservation, which encourages innovation, learning, and positive behavior change, and aligns with Vancouver's long-term vision to be a zero-waste community by 2040. And I'm going to read you the entire proclamation now. Whereas the City of Vancouver has a long-term strategic vision for Vancouver to be a zero-waste community by 2040, and whereas the city celebrates the 20th anniversary of Waste Reduction Week in Canada, a national campaign focused on waste reduction and resource conservation and creating solutions to the many environmental challenges we face, such as climate change, pollution, and preservation of natural resources. And whereas the City of Vancouver believes in supporting the participation of residents to improve their neighborhood environment And whereas the collective efforts of Vancouverites is needed to educate, protect, and sustain our shared environment through evolution and innovation in waste reduction, now therefore I, Kennedy Stewart, Mayor of Vancouver, do hereby proclaim the week of October 18th to 24th, 2021 as Waste Reduction Week in the city of Vancouver. Okay. Oh, round of applause. I wasn't expecting that. Okay, we're going to go through minutes next. Minutes 1 are the minutes of the council meeting on October 5th, 2021. Any corrections to those? I just take a. Anybody wants to correct the minutes? Let me know. A question queue for that. Someone like to move, please. Thank
So
you,
moved,
Councillor
Councillor Carr.
Hardwick. Seconded by
Thank you.
Councillor Carr. So I'll do my best on listening. All those in favor, yay. Opposed, nay.
Yay.
Opposed, nay. No nays. Thanks. That's passed. Minutes 2 are the minutes of the public hearing October 5th. Any corrections? I'm just listening for verbal acknowledgement. I don't hear any. Any corrections? No. Someone like to move, please.
So moved, Councillor Bly.
Thank you, Councillor Bly.
Second, Councillor DeGenova.
Councillor Dejanova seconded. Thanks. All in favor, yay. Opposed, nay. It's passed 2. One more minutes. Minutes 3 are the minutes of the special council meeting on October 5th, 6th, and 7th. Any corrections? Nope. Okay, mover, please. Councillor
Councillor
Boyle.
Carr.
Second, Councillor DeGenova.
Councillor Boyle, seconded by Councillor Carr. That's who I heard first. All those in favor, yay. Opposed, nay. That's passed. Okay. We now will consider matters adopted on consent. We have communication 1, reports 2, 3, and 4. Referral reports 1 to 14. And anybody wish to hold any of those? We have Councillor Dominato, but I don't think you're Councillor Dominato. Somebody else is held. Do we have a mix-up on the queues? Councillor Dominato on the queue, but she's not here. Well, Councillor Kirby-Young, I'll try. Communication 1, reports 2 to 4, referral reports 1 to 14. Councillor?
Yeah, looking to hold referral report. I believe it's referral report 10. Just looking for confirmation if it's 10 or 10 and 11 with respect to the Epsilera rezoning referral.
Right. On the West 4th Avenue.
Yeah, and can I just ask for confirmation if that's, I just having difficulty play on my screen here, if that's for both 10 and 11 or relate to the same site?
11, okay. I have Councillor Dominato, but it must be another councillor who wanted to hold something.
Mayor, sorry, I'm on the
Oh,
line.
you are here. Oh, okay, thanks.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. I'd like to hold report 2.
Latecomer policy?
Yes, please. And no, I'll just hold report 2. Thanks.
Okay.
I'll do it. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I don't see anybody else in the queue. So I'd like somebody to move that we adopt the
So
remainder.
moved.
Thank you, Councillor
Councillor
Dejanova, seconded by Councillor Hardwick. Any conflict of interest on any of these items? Nope. All in favor say yay.
Yay.
Opposed, nay. Okay, those have passed, and I'll read these into the record. The clerks might help me here if I mess it up, but we have communication 1, which is the appointment of council liaison to the Transportation Authority Advisory Committee. We have report 3, Mountain View Cemetery bylaw amendments and fee increases. We have report 4, which is the 2022 exempt seniors housing. We have referral reports 1 to 14 minus 10 and 11. So that is CD1 rezoning on East 11th Avenue. Number 2, rezoning on 163 West King Edward Avenue. Referral report 3, rezoning on 707 West 27th Avenue. Report 4, rezoning on West 54th Avenue. Report 5, rezoning on 26th Avenue, West 26th Avenue. Referral report 6, rezoning on 6263 Yukon. Report 7, rezoning on West 26th Avenue. Report 8, rezoning on CD1 rezoning on East 41st Avenue. Report 9, miscellaneous amendments concerning various CD1 bylaws. Report 12, rezoning on 5138 Ash Street. Report 13, CD1 rezoning on 5844 Canby Street. And 14, CD1 rezoning on 8495 Canby Street. I think that's all. Okay, great. Okay, so we have unfinished business to proceed with first, and then we'll go to the held items. Okay, so the first unfinished business are 2 items of unfinished business today. One is the CD1 rezoning of 1157 Burrard Street. On October 12th, we had a public hearing on the above noted matter, and following the close of the speakers list and receipt of public comments and closing comments, referred debate and decision to council meeting today as unfinished business. Council members who were not present at the public hearing must confirm they have reviewed the proceedings of the meeting if they wish to vote on the enactment. I'll read that after. I believe there's a round of council questions, so I'm not mistaken. Clerks, I think there were questions to staff on this item. Questions were done. Okay, so we're moving. Okay, so let's see. So if you wish to vote on the enactment, Councillors Bly, Dejanova, and myself were absent. So I'm going to ask Councillor Bly, have you reviewed the proceedings and will you be voting on the application?
Yes, I have and I will.
Councillor Dejanova?
Have and I will.
I have and I will as well. So we're going to make a decision on this application. Do we have a mover for the recommendation?
So moved. Councillor Bly?
Thank you, Councillor Bly.
Second, Councillor Dejanova.
Seconded by Councillor Dejanova. I'm going to move us to the main queue. Any debate on this item? Councillor Carr, I have you in the queue, up to 5 minutes.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mayor. I wonder if I could ask a point of information through you to staff.
Okay, we'll see if we have staff. We have some staff here. They may be able to answer your question, but go ahead.
Okay, thank you. We did have some speakers raise the issue of consultation regarding the Arts and Culture Hub in the project. My question to staff is this, whether or not an amendment is necessary to require, potentially, I guess, through a condition of approval, that the applicant consult with the Vancouver arts community, and specifically the West End arts community in the development of the project's Arts and Culture Hub.
Hi, this is Kristen Lambertson. I can take that answer, Councillor
Right,
Carr.
we have staff also online too. Right, okay, thanks. Yes, go ahead.
Sure. So if approved, a more detailed functional program will be developed by cultural services and facilities staff who will work with the developer, with direct input from the members of Vancouver's nonprofit cultural community, including, for example, the West End arts and culture community, such as We Arts, literary arts, LGBTQ2+ cultural organizations, literary arts, Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and urban Indigenous cultural organizations, local artists, and cultural practitioners, as well as arts and cultural organizations from historically excluded and equity denied communities. This requirement is already laid out in the Conditions of Approval, Section 1.46, which requires that the Arts and Culture Hub will be designed to the satisfaction of the Managing Director of Cultural Services and the Directors of Facilities Planning and Development. The facility will need to be designed, constructed, equipped, and finished as a turnkey facility in accordance with the city's functional program requirements. After enactment, staff would undertake an open process with the goal of selecting a nonprofit arts and culture organization responsible for operating the space and who would be charged a nominal rent for the lease. Criteria for operator tenant selection would include demonstrating mandates and programs that support local and citywide community needs as articulated in the council-approved Making Space for Arts and Culture plan. Staff will return to council for approval of the selected nonprofit operator and lease terms.
Thanks, Councillor
Thank
Fair.
you. Yeah, no, I'm not finished, but thank you very much. That actually does answer my question specifically, that it is in a condition of approval, and that the West End community, amongst other communities in terms of the arts and culture sector in Vancouver, will be consulted. Specifically, a concern, of course, that the West End community is consulted, because there is a great need around facilities. Mayor, I will speak then in support of the recommendations. And I don't have too much time left, so I will be brief. I think that the corner plaza, the outward, community facing elements of this building are good. I particularly like the Arts and Culture Hub. I particularly also like that there won't be fossil fuels involved in the maintenance of this building, and I like the wraparound dynamics, or the balconies, and those sorts of features, which move us in the right direction in terms of the climate emergency action. And of course, the childcare is most welcome within the building and is desperately needed in the West End. So for those reasons, we'll support.
Thank you so much. Councillor Kirby-Young, you're up next. Just I'm going to stop your timer there, Councillor Kirby-Young. Just so council is aware, the camera seems to be stuck, so we're featuring Councillor Wiebe at the moment for the entire meeting. So just so you know, we're working with the vendor to get that fixed. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Kirby-Young.
Thank you, Mayor. I wonder if I can ask a point of information, question 3 to staff first. And that's just with respect to parking. And I didn't get a chance to ask this at the public hearing the other night. 289 strata units and proposed 271 vehicle spaces. And I'm just wondering if staff can comment on the ratio of parking, if they feel this one is overhoused, given sort of the convenient location in the West End. Or the overparked, I should say.
Can you hear me? Yeah, making sure that's on. Thanks for the question, Councillor. So the development is overparked, so that does meet the parking bylaw, but it does have excess vehicle parking that is in excess of the requirements of the parking bylaw.
Was there any consideration given in terms of the environmental considerations to reducing parking? Was that part of the discussion and processing of this application?
Yeah, that's part of the ongoing conversation. So the applicant would be submitting a transportation demand management plan and a transportation assessment management plan that would potentially seek to reduce that amount of parking through the development permit process.
And I appreciate the word potentially. Do we anticipate that we might realistically have a reduction?
I would hope, and I would hope that would be the case in working with the applicant.
Okay, but does council have any procedural tools to encourage?
I'll pass you over to Cynthia Lau, my senior planner.
Thank you, Councillor. Typically through the development permit process, this would be reviewed. So staff will take in the transportation demand, as well as looking at the application more to the uses specifically, and applying the parking bylaw as part of that process. I expect this type of project would likely be reviewed also through the development permit board.
Okay, thanks. I'll just speak to it and use the rest of the time. I'm a little concerned around the high ratio of parking in this specific neighborhood. But having said that, I don't want to hold up the project. Council recently approved a fantastic project immediately across with community, and I think that this will also bring some additional life and residents into the area. And it has yes, it is strata housing, but we have, as I mentioned earlier, seen some really strong projects coming in and around the area for social and rental as well. And I think different housing types are important. We also have 2 terrific amenities with a 37 space childcare facility and almost 16,000 square feet of space for arts and culture office and hub, which I also think is desperately needed in the city. So I will support it for that reasons, and I hope to see sort of a thoughtful approach to the actual parking that's required. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Kirby-Young. Councillor Dominato, go ahead, up to 5 minutes.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a question for you to staff with respect to the community garden that's currently on site. And I'm curious, I think there was a question last week around there being opportunities to relocate within the neighborhood. But I'm curious if when staff were working with the applicant around this proposal, whether there was an opportunity to maintain a community garden on site or as part of the plaza development there. Could staff speak to that?
Thanks for the question, Councillor Dominato. Nick Danford, rezoning planner here. That was not explored as part of the application. We did focus on the 2 amenities that are being delivered on site. There may be opportunity as part of the residential component to have community gardens for the residential component itself, but it would not be. There was no conversation with regards to actually achieving the replacement of that community garden that's on site within the development.
For clarifying that. And then just related to that question, can you clarify, is the green roof then on this building?
Yes, there is a green roof on the building.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That's it for me. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dominato. Councillor Swanson, up to 5. This is the debate.
Yeah. This is another decision. It isn't easy. It's arts and culture and childcare are both good. But in the end, to me, this is going to be a very gentrifying project. The condos, especially on the top, are going to be pretty pricey. It will gentrify the neighborhood. There's nothing in it that's affordable. And my fear is that we're changing the whole nature of our city to serve people who have above average incomes in order to get amenities that in this case, like childcare, is going to make the condo units more valuable. So they're actually an asset for the developer. And so we have a building that's mostly going to serve above average income renters. That's going to escalate the land price in the neighborhood and make it harder for other people to get affordable housing. Councillor Carr said she liked the design, but who is the design for? That's what I was asked, is who can access this? And it's not going to be the people who need housing the most. It's not even going to be a small portion of people who need housing the most, because there's no affordability whatsoever in this. So I'm going to say no to it.
Thank you. Councillor Hardwick.
Yes, in similar vein to Councillor Swanson, these will be very expensive condos, not the kind of housing that's really needed in the West End. And again, we need the West End Community Plan report to fully judge that the West End neighbors have been asking for some time. There are other concerns, construction impacts with this project. The city will need a major effort to reduce cumulative construction impacts and protect the quality of life of existing residents during construction. The list goes on. I point to, as Councillor Swanson did, the land inflation that will come with this. So on measure and on balance, I will not support this application.
Thank you. Councillor DeGenova.
Very much. Can I ask a point of information through staff?
You can.
Thanks so much. Just was wondering if staff could, I understand that this space will be owned by the City of Vancouver for childcare. Is that correct?
Yes, Councillor DeGenova. There's an airspace parcel being acquired by the city that includes both the childcare facility and the arts and culture hub, including a multi-purpose room.
Thanks so much. And will there be an RFP put out for the childcare?
I'll hand that question over to Kristen Lambertson, who is from ACCS.
Thank you. This is Ada Chan Russell. I can respond to you. The childcare, yes, it will be going through a selection process for nonprofit operators for childcare. The ones that we are looking for will be able to provide certain programs for the toddler and the 3 to 5 program that will also be suited for this and meet the needs of the community in the West End.
Okay, thanks very much. Just another follow-up point of information, if I may, Mayor?
Sure.
Thanks so much. And this question is more about, it is about the space, but wondering if one of those requirements or considerations of the city, considering it will be city owned space, um, structured through the air parcel for the childcare and the arts and culture, but this more applies to childcare, if 24-hour childcare would be a consideration, and that's considering the location of this. And in conversations that myself and other councillors had with Minister Chen during UBCM, understanding that they are looking for downtown locations to move forward with the 24-hour or extended hour child cares and those models, especially near hospitals and places like St. Paul's. So is that a consideration that will be considered in the RFP process here?
I
That
can
moves forward
answer.
if this is approved?
Yes, I can answer this as well. As a respond to the requested motion, we currently have staff looking into 24-hour childcare, and we're looking for. It will take a long time for us to find out more about this, so we can't say and promise that this will be applied on this site, but it is something that we are looking for in perhaps future sites, noticing that where the needs would be and other considerations as part of this work.
Is it off the table, can I ask? Is it a consideration possibly for this site if there was organization, nonprofit or otherwise, that came forward with the proposal?
We haven't, sorry, this is, we actually haven't gotten to the point where we had any findings currently. The work is underway. So again, we're unsure, but we will keep council posted on this work and whether it will pertain to this or other sites.
Thanks so much. I'm just going to take a moment to say that I fully support this project, in that although there are trade-offs here, I do want to note the importance of childcare and arts and culture space. I am a little bit troubled by the fact that the city, in a sense, is owning the childcare, only because I see there being possible opportunities. And I also look at the long-term maintenance costs for the city in this. We want to make sure childcare is as affordable as possible. So I would assume we would be charging the types of rents to the childcare or maintenance, I would say, that would be as low as possible. But how does that sustain? And I brought this up many times with council. So I will support this, but I would hope that we would also be empowering nonprofit and even private childcare providers, because as was noted to me at UBCM by Minister Chen, they are supporting not only nonprofit organizations that offer childcare, but also private organizations they're finding can deliver as much, if not more, childcare. So that was a note that was made in a meeting at UBCM with a number of other councillors when I brought this up. Not the specific project, but childcare in general, and looking at extended hours models. So I did want to mention that, but I do think that it is an opportunity for more housing and childcare, which is badly needed
Just F5.
in downtown. So for that reason, I support it. Thank you.
And Councillor Weeb?
Yeah, I'll also be supporting. This is an interesting site because it does provide well-being for the neighborhood. You've got a community garden there. You also have the moving of St. Paul's. And I think that there's a lot of small businesses trying to ensure the vibrancy of that region. And I was hoping that we would get some proposal to come to us and would deliver more. A $15.6 million arts and culture facility is great. It's moving forward with our Making Space work. So I really appreciate seeing that in there. It's not easy for us to locate that type of project. As well as the childcare facility and the CACs and DCLs to really improve the amenities. So really appreciate the work staff and the proponent have done, and I will be supportive.
Thanks, Councillor Weep. Okay, let's see. So that's the debate. So let's call a vote on this one. And that has passed. If clerks want to call up the voting screen, with Councillor Swanson and Councillor Hardwick opposed. Thank you so much. We're going to our second item of unfinished business, which is the zoning and development bylaw amendments to allow patios for liquor manufacturers. On October 12th, Vancouver City Council held a public hearing on this matter and followed the close of the speakers list and receipt of public comments and closing comments. Referred debate and decision to the council meeting today as unfinished business. Council members who were not present must confirm that they have reviewed the proceedings of the meeting and that they wish to vote on the enactment. Councillor Bly, Dejanova, and myself were absent. I'm going to ask you, Councillor Bly, have you reviewed the proceedings and will you be voting? Thanks very much. Councillor Dejanova.
I have and I will.
I have and I will as well. We're now ready to make the decision. So can we have a mover for this?
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Kirby-Yung. Seconder, Councillor Boyle. Thank you. I'm going to move us over to the main queue. We've got Councillor Kirby-Yung on the queue for up to 5 minutes for the debate. Let's reset your timer here.
Yeah, I wonder if I could just ask a question about process, clarifying questions, staff, based on some of the feedback that we heard from speakers through you. Mayor.
Sure, please do.
And that was, there was a bit of concern with the syncing of the expiry of the temporary patios and council having to, due to the time with the public hearing last week, refer this to today. And then I know that we have the bylaw enactment on Thursday's standing committee agenda. So I wonder if you can just provide some assurance in terms of continued operations for those, for example, craft breweries or others that want to continue, that delay from council will not affect sort of their processing in terms of indicating if they wish to continue with a patio, the duration of that patio, and so on.
So thank you for your question. So yes, the breweries would have sufficient time to have the application process go through. So if approved, they would be able to apply for the application. And sorry, just catching my breath, ran over here. But they would have time to go through the system and apply, and they would have until March 31st of 2022.
Okay, so they don't have to be concerned that they're
as long as we encourage them to apply as early as possible. Okay. But that should provide them sufficient time.
Okay, thank you. And Mayor, I wonder if I could ask a follow-up procedural question to you, and that is that on Thursday, we have a very long agenda with a lot of speakers, and we have this bylaw enactment, and typically, is there an opportunity to vary the agenda so that this doesn't get pushed again into a
I'll have to
further
check
week?
into that with clerks, but I'll make a note of your request and see what we can do on the agenda, although the agendas have been published already, so it may require a vote to do that, but I'll come back to you with the procedure.
Okay, thank you. And I'm very happy to support the report. Thanks.
Okay, thanks so much. I don't have, Councillor Weep, go ahead.
Yeah, are we questioned? No, it's moved already. Yeah, I will also be supporting the report. I really appreciate the work staff's done with this. I know that the Liquor Manufacturing Coalition has done a lot of work to figure out wording and work with you to come up with something that works, and you've nailed it. It's pretty much exactly what they've wanted for the last 10 years in advocacy. So really appreciate staff's work in listening to the community, listening to the manufacturers, listening to the community, and delivering what they're asking for. So thanks so much, and I will be very supportive.
Thanks, Councillor Weep. That's it for debate, so we'll move to a vote on this item. Just want to pull up the screen. That it'll show that this vote's unanimous. Thanks very much, Council. I'm just now moving to the items we held. Trustee. Okay. So we have already passed communication 1. We're moving on to report number 2, which is held by Councillor Dominato, the latecomer policy. Oh yes, sorry. I'm just checking here on the speakers list. Right, yeah, we do have a speaker for item number 1, so sure, we'll move to the quarter capital budget adjustments and closeouts. And staff have a presentation on this? Or do you just move to questions from council? We're just waiting for a transition here on the staff team, council. And just to note that the video's been fixed. Do we have staff on the line to answer questions?
Hi, Mayor Stewart. Staff are here to answer questions. We don't have a presentation.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. So any questions from staff? Sorry,
Actually,
from council.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Rima Mulji, Director of Projects and Development Services and Engineering. We don't have a presentation, but I do have some introductory comments.
Okay, sure. Please go ahead.
So I'd like to provide a quick update on the latecomer policy. So since 2012...
We're not on latecomer policy yet. We're still doing We're still doing the capital budget adjustments. Sorry, I miannounced
my
that.
apologies.
That's okay. So on the closeout, are there any questions from the item number 1 on reports, quarterly capital budget adjustments and closeouts? The reason we've held that is because we have 1 speaker to this item. And I don't see any questions from council, so perhaps we can move to the speaker. Yes, sure. Councillor Bly.
Thanks very much. My question is to staff. I'm not sure if we have a staff team here. No, we don't.
We'll go through the city manager for now. And
Yeah, no problem.
Yep.
I actually it's just a quick question, and it's around the overhead. I noticed that the administration for our capital plan was at 6.2 million, and it just seemed sort of high proportionately speaking. I just wonder if that's typical. The city manager can comment there.
City manager.
Thanks, Mayor Stewart. I don't know if we have staff from finance on the line who can speak to that question specifically.
Hi, Paul. Colin Knight here. I'm Director of Citywide Financial Planning and Analysis. I can try to respond to that. I just was hoping to clarify which section of the report that you were
Page
referencing.
3.
Page 3. Let me see. I'm just trying to. What I can do is maybe I'll take a look
Sure.
and try and get back to you shortly.
Yep, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Perhaps we can move to the speaker clerks. Do we have the speaker either? I don't see Brendan Washbeam. Sorry, I don't mind. Washburn. Brendan Washburn. He's on the line. Great. Okay. Brendan Washburn, please go ahead. You have up to 5 minutes. Address council.
Hey, can you hear me?
Sure can. Please go ahead.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
All right. Look, I'm going to get right to the point. I'm not here to sugarcoat it or pussyfoot around the very visible issue we have. I'm not someone who goes around spending their money all willy-nilly on any old thing. But I'm also someone who believes in reducing spending wherever we can. I don't want to go around crunching on every penny tight as you can for no reason. That's not who I am. That's not me. I also don't want you to think I'm a guy who gets upset at any old thing. I don't ever get upset just for the sake of getting upset. I've never been that kind of guy.
Personal privilege, Mayor?
Sorry, I'm not quite sure if I heard that speaker.
Yeah, it's Councillor Carr. I can't hear the speaker, or he is going in and out. If something could be done to clarify.
Speaker,
his line.
if you could speak a little closer into your telephone.
Is this any better?
Yeah, if you can. Yep.
How's this?
That sounds better.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Don't think that I'm somebody who will just let something like this go. I am someone who always speaks up. I do not remain silent. I can't. I won't. I refuse. This is too important for me. This is not the time to be letting things go, especially the way the economy is going. The economy is not something you can just ignore and expect it not to affect you. No way, not going to happen. But I don't want anyone to think I'm trying to cause a panic, because I think we can still get a hold of this thing before it goes off the rails. Not that I'm suggesting we're heading there. I'm not the type of person who would throw out wild accusations like that. I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. But I mean, come on. Let's not sleep on the fact that there are serious negative issues going on in the economy. And not just our economy, not even just our budget. Everywhere. I'm not the type of person who would say something that would ever try and make everyone think something crazy, but this is just too important for me not to speak on it. If I don't speak up, it will not be good. It is not something I want to go on record doing. Being the guy who did not speak is not me. It's not the person I strive to be. I strive to be a person who stands up for what he believes in. Not someone who sits back and relaxes while real issues are going on. No way, not going to happen. With that being said, I don't want anyone to think that I'm not a cool, calm, down-to-earth individual. I'm not some sort of lunatic. I'm not a zany guy who gets all worked up over nothing. Nope, not me. No, sir. But I mean, come on. Let's not get carried away with semantics. This is not the time or place to get our wires all crossed and turned into knots. We will not and we cannot let the budget go the way it is going. Not now, not ever. Things cannot continue to go the way they're going. It's not sustainable, not even a little bit. The budget needs to budge, pardon the pun, but we got to budget. We got to change it. We got to maneuver it. Because that's the way it is. Gosh, I just don't know. Thank you.
Thanks so much for your comments on this item. I don't see any questions for you, so we'll thank you for calling in and move back to council. Thanks so much. Okay, council, that's it for speakers on this one. Councillor Wiebe, do you have questions for staff?
Yeah, my question to staff is in Appendix 1, it talks about emerging priorities and that we have not spent $1 of the $23 million on emerging priorities. And I'm just wondering, for capital expenditures, I'm just wondering, recognizing there's a lot of council priorities we haven't been able to deliver, what is the reasoning that we have not been able to utilize any of our emerging priorities funding?
We'll move to the finance team online.
Colin Knight, Director of Financial Planning Analysis, and I can respond to this question and also respond to the earlier question.
Thank you.
So to the question around emerging priorities is that that was part of funding that was part of the midterm capital plan recalibration last year that we identified the savings that could help the operating budget. And so we've taken in essence, use that to help reduce the property tax, both for this last year's the 2021 budget, as well as that will be included in what we're bringing forward as options and scenarios for the 2022 budget. And so that specific amount is not able to spend. Also, that we will be bringing forward in the 22 budget for council consideration option around using a portion of the emerging priorities that wasn't allocated to help reduce taxes, to bring that forward for council's consideration around a fire hall project for Grandview that will be part of the options for council to consider.
I guess my question is, if it has been reallocated, why is it not included in the adjustments and closeouts for this report today?
So I think in terms of we will be bringing that when we table the budget and options. We will be including that information and bringing that to you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Wiebe. Go ahead, staff.
And just in response to the earlier question around the overhead, so they've located that particular reference, and so just to emphasize that that's not a change that's being requested in this report. That was a prior change that we had included in a previous budget adjustment, and it was related to overhead that was planned but was not activated in a budget, and so we had to do an adjustment to bring that dollar amount in, but it was consistent with what we had planned, and again, to note that it's not being requested as a change in this report. It was just provided for some of the context and history around prior changes that council has approved.
Councillor Bly is okay? Okay. Thanks so much. I don't see anybody else on the queue for questions here, so we'll move. Can I have somebody move the report, please?
Moved.
Thank you,
Councillor Dominato.
Councillor Dominato, thank you. Have a seconder?
Councillor Bly?
Councillor Bly, I heard first, so we'll move to the main queue. Any debate around this item? I don't see any councillors on for debate, so I'll move us to a vote. Here we go. That has passed unanimously. Thanks, Council. Item number 2 in the reports, the latecomer policy was held by Councillor Dominato. And I'm just going to make sure that we have staff available to speak to that one before I put you on the queue. Right, we do have staff here. And right, so staff, you have some opening comments, I remember. So please go ahead and we can move to questions.
Great. So good morning, Mayor and Council. Karima Mulji, Director of Projects and Development Services and Engineering, and will provide a quick introduction to the latecomer policy. So since 2012, the city, supported by the development industry, has requested that the provincial government change the charter to allow for latecomer agreements. The province changed the charter in 2020 to provide the city with this ability, something that other municipalities already have. So the ability to administer latecomer agreements does not change any of our current practices related to funding infrastructure for development. Latecomer agreements only apply to development conditions where infrastructure upgrades are required due to the direct impact of a development. So for example, an upgraded sewer or a new traffic signal. So previously, the first development in would pay the full cost. With the ability to enter into latecomer agreements, this initial developer now has the ability to recoup some or all of these costs from subsequent developers. So here today, we have Chalice Joseph, Branch Manager of Development and Major Projects, as well as Mike Bird, who is a Senior Project Manager in that area. We also have staff from Planning, Finance, and Legal on WebEx to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Councillor Dominato, I've got you on the queue because you held this item. Did you
Yep.
want to ask questions? Okay, please
Yes.
go ahead. Yep.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of follow-up questions. Recognizing this is revenue neutral for the city, and we're just being a bit of a broker in the situation where you've had a lead developer in there, and then future development that, as you point out, has a direct impact in terms of growth. My question is are there circumstances, so outside of this, are there circumstances where we may be in a situation where we haven't received sufficient DCLs to cover growth? So irregardless of the first developer in, but then you have future developers and there's an added impact. So I appreciate the role of the latecomer agreement in that and being able to recoup from the first developer. But what about the implications for the city? Because that seems to be a growing concern, is our ability to fund sort of basic infrastructure and related to growth.
So latecomer agreements only apply to conditions of development, not to DCLs or UDCLs. So that's something we wanted to emphasize, is that we're not changing any of our practices. This is on the developer. Right now, developers, when we examine applications and we determine that there is a specific local impact, they do need to pay for the full cost of the upgrade. So all the latecomers does is allow for sharing of those costs. It's not related to the DCL or UDCL program.
I appreciate that. I think the question I'm asking is probably a broader one than the latecomer agreement, because I appreciate what you're saying and I recognize they're not connected. The second question I have is with respect to how the latecomer agreement will work in the context of an area like Nanaimo Station, where you have multiple holdings by development firms, and there were concerns raised previously that there was not an opportunity to receive applications in that area because of the need to upgrade our infrastructure. And so could you speak to that, is where you may have multiple developments at the same time going in? So there may not just be one lead development. Does the latecomer agreement contemplate that?
It does. And in fact, that is something that happens currently. And so the first developer in would take that obligation to actually do the design and construction of the infrastructure and would be paid back by subsequent developers. Noting the station areas, for example, we are doing some detailed modeling and monitoring to understand infrastructure impacts, and I think we'll have more information that'll roll out as part of Plan Vancouver Together.
Okay, thank you. And then last question is with respect to the policy. Um, I noted, I've noted from looking at a number of our policies, corporate and otherwise, some are a bit dated and they'll indicate that they've been, the date they've been approved or they've been updated. But this policy doesn't actually have a requirement for a review on a regular basis, whereas we do have policies that stipulate this will be reviewed, every 2 years or every 3 years. And I'm curious if that's something that could be added, and if you need to have an amendment, I'm happy to make that, but I prefer not. But to me, it's best practice, at least in my experience with board governance, is that we are really clear not only in our policy framework of when they're approved, but also when they will be reviewed because of changing landscapes. And so I'm curious if staff could speak to that.
Yeah, Charles Joseph, Manager of Development Major Projects. So the plan is to review it in the next 18 to 24 months, as well as include it in our typical development fee program review on an annual basis to make sure that the program is running well. It will also work with the DCL program, so I would assume we would be reviewing it as we update our DCL program on each capital plan.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. I think that it's really important that we have that, and even that it's articulated in the policy, the time frame for when it's, like, I noticed our cybersecurity policy notes a review in 2 years and so on. So that addresses my questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wiebe?
Yeah, my question is on how this will affect our CAC and DCL, I guess CAC negotiations, recognizing that a lot of times we put the cost of development on that negotiation process, and now we won't know how much of that they'll get back. So how is the CAC process going to be affected with the first project as well as the other projects down the road?
Yeah, so the policy notes in it that under a negotiated CAC, the proportionate share for that initial developer would be reflected in their pro forma, whereas in a target rate CAC, we do not consider the cost of infrastructure for the initial developer.
How do we determine, because it's in there, but how do we determine the amount not knowing how much they will get back later on and how much interest will be made? So I guess the question is, we're not 100% certain on that financial element, so how can we create that CAC?
So we will not be reflecting any sort of potential recovery within their infrastructure costs in the CAC negotiation. So we only assume what their proportionate share is towards the total upgrade.
So would that person or developer might get funding afterwards, which would have increased the ability for our initial CAC? No.
No, it will not affect that. Because it's only, so if you have $1 million upgrade,
yeah,
and the initial developer's proportionate share was, say, 10%, that 100,000, the 10% would be what would be reflected in the pro forma and how you calculate the CAC.
Okay, so even though that developer paid $1 million, they're only getting the 100 grand allowed. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. I don't see other questions. We have a mover for this report.
So moved, Councillor Dominato.
Thank you. Seconder?
Second, Councillor DeGenova.
Councillor DeGenova, thank you. We're on the main queue, so if anybody would like to debate this item. I don't see anybody on the queue, so I'll call a vote. And that's passed unanimously. Thank you, Council. We are moving to item number 5 because we do have speakers to that item. Parking fee exemption for vehicles displaying veteran or memorial cross license plates. And there is no staff presentation on this item, but we have councillors, so you have up to 5 minutes. I'm going to move you to a different queue, Councillor DeGenova, but I'll put you back on. Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, so Councillor DeGenova, you have, just going to wait for 1 second before I start your clock to just to make sure we have staff on the line to answer your questions.
I was actually just going to, I see myself as the only person on the queue. I'm happy to take myself off. As I was going to move that maybe we hear from the speakers first, Mayor, and then have questions after. But if I'm the only one on the queue for questions, I can just take myself off.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
And we'll move to speakers then. So, Council, we have Three speakers for this item. The first speaker is Timothy Douglas Laidler. You have Timothy Laidler on the line.
Speaker 1 is not on the line.
Thank you, clerks. Do we have Cheryl Fraser, speaker 2? Cheryl Fraser?
Mayor Stewart, we'll just check on that. Speaker 2 is on the line, so there may just be an issue.
Okay, thanks so much.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead, up to 5 minutes.
Okay. Good morning. The British Columbia Veterans Commemorative Association, which I will refer to hereafter as BCVCA, is honored to address Council regarding this matter. Regrettably, Lieutenant Colonel Archie M. Stacey, BCV President, is unable to present due to health matters. My name is Cheryl Fraser, BCVCA Treasurer. Prior to retirement, I was the BC Regional Director of Veterans Affairs Canada, and I am the daughter of a D-Day veteran. BCVCA members range in the age of 70 to 95 years old, and we are all volunteers. It is as equally significant to understand that BCVCA is the originator of the BC Veterans License Plate Program and sole authorizing agent of the Government of British Columbia. I emphasize sole. No other veteran organization has anything to do with this program, just BCVCA. Again, this year we are somewhat stunned that BCVCA was not consulted by city officials in the preparation of this report. BCVCA extends sincere appreciation to Councillor Melissa DeGenova for her unwavering leadership in championing this initiative and to all supporting council members. As stated in our presentation last year, of course we endorse the recommendation. The facts we presented last year and the city facts this year validate that this consideration is of no financial burden to city revenues. BCVCA does not view this initiative in terms of burden or revenues. We view it as a civic duty, our duty, to honor the sacrifices of our military in serving us, common citizens. Service not just in conflict, but in everyday life. It behooves us to reflect on the past 2 years, COVID, firefighting, Afghanistan, and how our military served for the greater good of public health and safety. A good many of our military and their families are now suffering from assisting with these disasters. This human strain goes unreported in the public. However, BCVCA sees firsthand the serious implications our military men and women endure after the fact. In this context, when BCVCA speaks of permanent free city parking, it is a small gesture of what we as citizens could possibly owe our veterans. The public, seeing the distinctive blue BC Veterans license plate parked on city streets, is also a positive reflection on you, council members. It signifies a noble recognition of gratitude for all that has been given to citizens by military service and sacrifice. It is not too much to ask. It is never too much for a government and its citizens to continue to find public expressions of understanding and appreciation to our military men and women and their families for being on the ready, willing and able to put themselves in harm's way for us. They continually stand on guard for us. Let's join together and stand on guard for them. The British Columbia Veterans Commemorative Association thanks you for this opportunity to voice our collective intent. And that is the end of our presentation.
Thank you so much. You do have questions. Councillor DeGenova, please go ahead, up to 3 minutes.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fraser, and thanks for coming on behalf of Lieutenant Colonel Archie Stacey, and I hope that you will give him my best. I understand that he, for
I'm not
medical
receiving
reasons, can't
any,
be here.
I can't hear anything.
Can you hear me, Mayor Stewart?
I can hear you.
Now I can hear
Okay.
you.
You have
Now
to
I can
speak
hear
up a
you.
bit, Councillor Dejanova.
Thanks. Oh, my apologies. I just wanted to say thank you for coming, and please give my best regards to Lieutenant Colonel Archie Stacy, who I understand is suffering with some medical issues right now and can't be here with
Yes,
us.
I will. Yes,
But
that's true.
yes, and I really appreciate the work that your organization does. Now, it's my understanding from staff that there's a possibility that they could if there was any consultation needed moving forward, that there could be um, uh, work with BCVCA, and I will ask that question of staff if 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 that's possible. That's something I understand your organization would be interested in, considering you personally, um, as an organization, oversee the application process and make the decisions for every license plate in British Columbia. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We are the sole operating agency of the government, and all applications come through us. We vet the criteria, match it up with the applicant's credentials, and then we approve or disapprove an application.
Okay, thanks very much. And forgive my ignorance, but can you share with me how that applies to Silver Cross families as well?
The Silver Cross families, they go directly to ICBC. So it's mostly the veterans and current serving members that come through us.
Okay, and I understand that there's only a handful of Silver Cross families, whereas there are, how many license plates do you currently have in British Columbia that are veterans plates?
Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Dijanova. I don't have that information in front of me.
Oh, no worries. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but as you'd said, the information that you had shared last year in staff's report to council and before the
Right.
one-year pilot was issued,
Right.
the information in this staff report is in line with the information that you provided in the previous year, that there would not be thousands and thousands of cars parking all day and all night on the City of Vancouver streets with veterans plates. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, that's correct. The statistics that are cited in your city official report are quite accurate, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And that's all I
Okay.
have, but thank you so much.
Thank you. That's
Thank
it for
you.
questions. Thank you so much for phoning in today. And we're going to move to the next speaker. Next speaker is James D. Barrett.
Yes, Your Worship, can you hear me?
Sure can. Please go ahead, up to 5 minutes.
Yes, Your Worship, members of the Vancouver City Council. I'm a retired Canadian Armed Forces veteran, just retired after 39 years. My family has a long link to the City of Vancouver going back to 1904. My grandfather served in the Great War and then was your district fire chief before his retirement in '59. My father, Royal Canadian Navy Volunteer Reserve on the North Atlantic in World War II, and he retired as a staff sergeant with the Vancouver City Police Department. And I resided in Vancouver most of my life, moving to Coquitlam in 2016, and have two sons who still reside with their wives in Vancouver. And I've been, as I say, a long-term Armed Forces member in the reserve. I just wanted to express my support for the veterans plates being a permanent pass for parking in the City of Vancouver. I am a volunteer with your Vancouver Remembrance Day Committee, the Friends of Victory Square Committee, and I will be taking over the running of the Vimy Day Committee at the Mountain View Cemetery from the late Camp Cathcart. So I've found it very convenient to be able to come into Vancouver as a volunteer and work on committees and other things. And having been recently injured, find that it's really great to be able to drive close to where I want to go without having to walk too far. I want to thank Councillor Dijanova and the City Council for support on this motion. That's all I have to say, other than thank you for considering it.
Thank you. I don't see any questions for you, but just want to thank you for your continued service to our city and the country. Thanks so much. Council, that's it for registered speakers. And just wondering if we could have somebody move the motion.
So moved, Councillor DeGenova.
Thank
I'd
you.
like to move this. Thanks.
Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Hardwick. Councillor DeGenova, please go ahead. You have up to 5 minutes on this item.
Thanks very much. I'd like to first of all thank our staff for the report. Very much appreciate the time and effort that staff have put into gathering the data and collecting it. I understand that last year when we were here talking about this very item, it was a little more contentious. There was concern that there would be tens of thousands of cars parking in the city of Vancouver day and night with veterans plates, that this could create huge parking issues in the city of Vancouver. And I understand from staff's due diligence and their research that that they have come to see that that is not the case. That instead of hiring new staff to oversee this specific program, bylaw officers can note veterans license plate, and that's thanks to the BC Commemorative Association for their work in personally as volunteers, as Ms. Fraser had said, and Lieutenant Colonel Archie Stacey as the head of the organization. They personally review each and every one of those applications. They scrutinize them, and they make their decisions as a committee together, and that's before a license plate is issued. So before that goes to ICBC. I just wanted to take a moment, Mayor Stewart, just to ask a point of information during my comments, if I
Sure,
may.
go ahead. Yep.
And that's a question to our staff. And I understand that this came back to council, you know, a year later. However, I'm wondering if there's a possibility in the future, considering the BC VC or the BC, or I should say the Commemorative Association, is the organization that oversees license plates, not Veterans Affairs or the Legion, as is noted in here, although they have a lot to do with the overall issues that veterans face. I'm just wondering if you would be able to include them in any further consultation. Is that something that you already would plan on doing? If there needed to be any consultation or information or data gathered in the future?
Staff?
Sure if this is, oh, here we are. It is working. Thank you, Mayor and Council and Councillor DeGenova for the question. Margaret Witkins, Deputy GM within Engineering Services, and I can confirm that we would be certainly willing to engage on that topic as we move ahead.
Okay, thank you. And you wouldn't need any direction from council, is my understanding on that? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you very much. So thanks, Mayor Stewart, for that. And just to resume my comments, when I brought the motion forward in 2019, I was really encouraged that there was unanimous support for this. Our veterans, we cannot put a price on what they have done for us. The fact that they have put their lives on the line, and we think back to the battles they've fought, the world wars that our veterans have fought in, so that we can walk down our streets freely, as you cannot do in some countries, for the rights and freedoms that we enjoy here in Canada. And that's not lost on me. And it's something that I think that we need to acknowledge and recognize beyond November 11th each year. This is a small token of appreciation and a gesture, and we did hear from a veteran how it's benefiting that veteran as they come in and volunteer their time on our Remembrance Day committee and on other committees in our city. I've heard from veterans who didn't sign up to speak today because some of them were ill, as with Lieutenant Colonel Archie Stacey, and I really want to thank him for his work. And there are too many people to thank, Council, but Lieutenant Colonel Archie Stacey really has championed this license plate program for veterans. And as we heard from many veterans, there is an unwritten rule that they don't go out and apply for a license plate unless they have served or gone on a tour and come back from that tour. But I think that it's really, really important that that after you know, this long road we've been down, that I would hope that there is support for this, because it's again, a few hours of free parking is nothing compared to what they've done for us, and I know that a number of them have fought battles. And this shouldn't be a battle they have to fight again. I know a number of them signed up to speak. And I'll leave it there. I know that I do have 5 minutes to close, but I just wanted to say thank you again to each and every veteran and current serving member for their service. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Kirby-Young?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'm incredibly grateful to support this motion and very grateful to Councillor DiGenova for bringing it forward. I think that anytime we have members of our society who are willing to put themselves in harm's way for others, we should be grateful for that. And that gratitude should exist outside of the more formal ceremonies that take place typically annually on Remembrance Day or other occasions of commemoration, because those are times often when I think our veterans are forgotten in our daily lives. And if this is something that provides a small measure and symbol of the appreciation and deep respect that we hold for them, then I think that it's such a small thing for the City of Vancouver to do, but I hope that it has a bigger impact than that. I will admit that I was quite surprised in the original report at how expensive staff had projected that the initiative might be in terms of the impact on parking revenues, and that certainly wasn't my sense, that we would have, sort of a large plethora of uptake or a large number of individuals using this, and I think that sort of the due diligence in the report bore that out. But again, it's sort of an immeasurable concept to be able to recognize and thank people that may not have come back. And so since they have, and we're very fortunate, and oftentimes they bring legacies of trauma that they have to bring with them. If we can make their life a little bit easier, then I'm very happy to do that. So again, grateful to Councillor DiGenova for the motion. Very happy for all the speakers that came and spoke previously, and very happy to support the motion. Thank you.
Thanks. That's it for speakers. Oh, Councillor DeGenova, I've got you back on the queue.
Thanks, Mayor Stewart. I won't take too much longer, but I did, again, really want to thank our staff, and I wanted to thank the veterans who did write into us as council and couldn't be here today, or weren't able to be here today. There are a number of them that are at a BC Regiment meeting, I understand, and many others that spoke last time, but felt that they would wait and see how things went this time round. But were encouraged by council's support of a one-year pilot. And I also would like to thank Councillor Fry for while I was chairing the meeting last year, moving forward a motion to allow the one-year pilot to continue. So I did want to I credit where credit's due, and I want to thank Councillor Fry for doing that. We had some long discussions about it, and I appreciated council's support on it. But also, again, I would hope that this doesn't have to be a battle for our veterans. They have fought their battles, they have fought their wars, and a few hours of free parking is nothing compared to all that they've done for us. So for that reason, I'm hoping that there's unanimous support here from council. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Councillor Hardwick.
I too hope there's unanimous support for this on council, and I just wanted to rise and speak in support very briefly. It was kind of mind-bending to me that we thought that there were so many veterans that would be using our parking that this would be an issue. Thankfully, over time, it has been resolved, and I think we can move forward in full support. Thank you.
Thanks so much. That's it for speakers to this, so we'll call a vote. And if the clerk's going to pull up the screen, that has passed unanimously. Thanks so much. Council, just a note too on that one, we did call the names of all listed speakers, and one of the speakers wasn't available. Speaker number 1, Timothy Douglas Laidler. Thanks so much. Okay, so now we've got referral reports. 10, and 11 were held by Councillor Kirby-Yung. This is the CD1 rezoning on 150 West 4th Avenue and the CD1 rezoning on 110 West 4th Avenue. And again, questions to staff, but just concerning the legitimacy of or the whether or not they should be referred to public hearing, not really the content of the item itself. I will just make sure that we have staff on the line and just check with the city manager to see if there are staff available to answer this, or if we want to wait for a second.
Just could I ask a point of procedure, Mayor?
Sure.
Yes, staff are here.
Staff are here. Okay, Councillor Dejanova?
I'm sorry, I tried to put myself on the queue. I've just been told that the votes aren't coming up on the live stream, and I'm just wondering if there's a reason for that, or if staff are posting the votes.
I just was monitoring here, and they did come up on the screen in the council chambers, but I will check with the clerks about the them appearing on the live stream. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have staff on the line. Councillor Kirby-Yung, you want to go ahead with your questions to staff?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The question that I have, and I haven't been in this situation before, so I'm going to ask a clarifying procedural question, and that is that Council received some correspondence related to this referral with respect to, from members of the public, with respect to work that had commenced on the site. And I understand that concrete forms report above and beyond what had been already approved in anticipation of, or it was suggested as an error of the contractor. So I'm suggesting anticipation of approval of this public hearing. And I'm just wondering if staff can provide guidance on how council should consider that information in the context of voting to refer. I understand subsequently received advisory that that work had stopped, but I'd just like to get some procedural clarification.
Staff?
Thank you, Council, for the question. Yes, we do understand that there was a stop work order issued on the property recently regarding formwork. The applicant has been issued a stop work order, as indicated. The chief building official will determine how to proceed. And as a reminder, the referral report relates to the proposed application and does not relate to the matters pertaining to the stop work order.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the last piece again? So the stop work order is not related to the SOLA? I just want to be very clear on that.
Yes, that's correct. The stop work order and any issues related to that is not part of the referral report that's before you today.
In the sense, can you expand on why it is not, or in what sense, just to be clear?
Yes, I can. The stop work order relates to a development permit that was issued on the property and prescribed a building of approximately 4 stories in height. The owner to continue to develop it past that point, our district building inspectors caught the issue, issued a stop work order on the property. The owner's been told to cease any further work until council has determined whether they support the rezoning application on that property. And then the chief building official will determine how to proceed relative to that original DP. So the development permit work is the work that's related to the stop work permit that's issued on the property, not the application before you for the rezoning application.
Okay, so can I reflect back then to be clear that staff are suggesting that council should consider the matter separately and should not be fettered in its decision to refer this item to public hearing, where the public may speak if they have points of view to bring forward on this?
Yes, Councillor, that would be correct. That would be the appropriate way to proceed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dominato, do you have questions for staff?
Hi, Mayor. Sorry. Actually, Councillor Kirby-Yung asked my question, so and I'm
Okay.
satisfied the answers. Thank you.
Thanks so much. So we'll need there are no other questions. We'll need a motion. We'll need that referral report removed. And can we do both at once?
Second.
Councillor Kirby-Yung, you okay doing both at once?
Yep,
Okay.
happy to move
So,
both.
Councillor Dominato, you okay with seconding both?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks. So we'll move this to a main queue. Any debate about referring these? I don't see any, so we'll be voting on referring item number 10 and 11 to public hearing. There we go. And Councillor Kirby-Yung. vote? Great. Okay, thanks so much. That's passed unanimously. Thank you,
Um,
clerk. So
just,
maybe we could
just
check
a
our
point of
screen.
privilege.
Yeah, Councillor Dejanova?
Mayor Stewart, I was trying to vote on screen, and I just want to make sure my vote is recorded as in favor because I'm clicking, but it wouldn't actually highlight it. So I can't see the main screen and the vote.
Okay,
So
sure.
if you could count
We'll
me in
make sure
favor.
the clerks we'll make sure the clerks record you as voting in affirmative in the minutes. And we can just check to make sure that the vote is coming up on screen as well while I'll just leave that with the clerks. Okay, council, so that's it for referral reports, and now we're on to bylaws. So let me get back on the queue here. Okay, we have 18 bylaws on the agenda for enactment. Please note that bylaw 16 has been withdrawn from the agenda. Council members who are not present for the meetings related to public hearing enactment bylaws must confirm they have reviewed the proceedings of the meeting if they wish to vote. At a public hearing on June 23rd, Councillor Fry declared a conflict of interest on the item entitled Rezoning 445 Kingsway and 2935 St. George Street, and is therefore ineligible to vote on bylaw 15. Bylaw 5 is from the public hearing of September 21st, 2021. Councillors Dejanova and Wiebe were absent for this item at the public hearing. I'm going to ask Councillor Dejanova, have you reviewed the proceedings and will you be voting?
I have and I will.
Thank you. Councillor Wiebe. Have you will, thank you. Any member wish to hold any of these bylaws for debate, separate vote, or conflict of interest? Councillor Hardwick, I've got you on the queue.
Yes, please. I would like to hold bylaws 6, 8, and 9, please.
Okay, 6, 8, and 9. Thank you. Councillor Swanson?
Yeah, I just wanted to hold 8 and 9.
Okay, can I ask Councillor Hardwick, is this for debate or just for the, you wanted to vote on these separately? Just the votes. Okay, thanks so much. Councillor Dejanova, do you wish to hold any of these bylaws?
I do, and I'm sorry, my screen has just. Could I ask which bylaw is the bylaw, Mayor Stewart, as a point of procedure on veterans parking?
Right. There's a lot of them here. I'm just looking here.
I'm sorry, I had it up just a moment ago.
I don't. I don't know.
I just don't see it here, Mayor Stewart, and I was wondering if the bylaw would be enacted at a different time.
I'm not sure. I'll have to
Could
get
I
back
ask
to you on that.
yeah, okay, but I could ask as a point of information? Or?
Not really at this stage.
Oh, okay. Let me know when. Thank
The
you.
clerks will send you Thursday. I have the word Councillor Dejanova, it'll be enacted on Thursday.
Thank you very much.
Offered to council. Okay, thanks. Councillor Wiebe, hold any bylaws?
Yeah, hold 14.
14. Is it for debate or is it for just
Yeah, it's just a comment from the advisory committees that wanted me to speak.
Okay, thank you. So, council, why don't we go to bylaw 14 first, because that is the one that a councillor has requested to speak on. So, let's see. Clerk, so I'm just trying to remember the procedure here. We, if we go to bylaw 14, we need a mover and a seconder, and then there's a chance for debate, and then I think that's right. Do I gotta get, do I have the head nod there on the? Let's try that way. Councillor Wiebe, you've moved bylaw number 14. Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Hardwick. Okay, so we're on the main queue on bylaw 14, and Councillor Wiebe.
I just want to speak quickly to this. We had 11 advisory committees write letters to the Vancouver Planning Commission, as well as this was passed to the Seniors Advisory Committee. The Person with Disability Advisory Committee, which I've been a member for 7 years, is really looking forward to this because they can't hit quorum without it. This is integral to their business and what they do. And I think that it's up to us to create a city for all. And I think this is a great opportunity showcasing that we are willing to listen and we are willing to make the changes needed so they can do the business, support us. So
Okay.
Really appreciate this.
Thank you, Councillor Weeb. So I don't see any other folks on the queue, so we'll move to a vote on this bylaw number 14. And that's passed unanimously. Thank you so much. Okay, so we've got, I'm going to ask Councillor Swanson. Councillor Swanson, you wanted to hold bylaws 8 and 9 for separate vote.
Just to vote against them.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we'll do 3 more votes on the bylaws. The first will go for bylaw number 6, which was held by Councillor Hardwick. Do we have a mover for that bylaw? Anybody?
So moved, Councillor DeGenova.
Thank you very much. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Fry. I'll move us to the main queue. Any debate? Don't see any, so we'll move to a vote on this item, which is bylaw number 6. Councillor Dominato. Thanks so much. That is passed with Councillor Hardwick in opposition. Okay, Council, we're going to move to bylaws 8 and 9, which are also held by Councillor Hardwick. Bylaw 8 is it's an amendment to the sign bylaw on Kingsway, and bylaw number 9 is an amendment to the noise control bylaw also on Kingsway. Can we have a mover for?
So move, Councillor Bly.
I'm just going to ask clerks, we can do both at the same time? We can. Oh, yes. So 8 and 9 have been moved.
Second, Councillor Dominato.
Thank you, Councillor Dominato. Do we have any debate on this referral? I don't see any, so I'm going to move to the vote on referring bylaws, passing bylaws 8 and 9. Councillor Weeb, Councillor Dominato. Great, that passes with Councillor Swanson and Hardwick in opposition. Now we're going to vote on the remainder of the bylaws. Can I have somebody move?
So moved.
I heard Councillor Hardwick first. We have a seconder, Councillor Dominato.
Point of privilege, Mayor. Are we excising 15, which is my conflict?
That's noted at the beginning, and then when the clerks record it, they'll automatically exclude you from that. Okay, thanks. Thanks for the question. Okay, so we've had it moved and seconded. Any discussion? I don't see any, so we'll move to the vote on the remainder of these bylaws. Very much, clerks. Councillors Kirby-Yung, Bly, and Swanson. Councillor Swanson?
Is this 8 and 9?
No, this is the remainder of the bylaws.
Oh, okay.
Great, that has passed. Thank you very much, Council. Okay, we are, okay. Great, thanks. We're moving on to administrative motions, I think. 1 second. Right, we have one administrative motion on the agenda. That's the approval of form of development for 1008 West 52nd Avenue. Any conflicts on this motion? I don't see any. Any questions to staff? Don't see any. Someone like to move the motion, please? Councillor Bly, thank you. Seconder?
Aye.
Councillor Fry, thank you. Any discussion? I'll move this over to the main queue. Don't see any discussion, so we'll just go for a verbal vote. All in favor say yay.
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 Opposed say nay. Thanks, that passes unanimously. Okay, we have one member motion on the agenda today. That is a request for a leave of absence. Councillor Kirby-Yung for civic business on October 26th from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. and Councillor Kirby-Yung for personal reasons on November 3rd from 6 to 8:30 p.m. Do we have a mover?
Move, Councillor Bly.
So moved.
Councillor Bly,
Councillor
heard
DeGenova.
first. Councillor DeGenova, seconder. All in favor, yay.
Yay.
Opposed, nay. That passes unanimously. Thanks. We're now at the notice of members' motions for upcoming council meetings. We have Councillor Dejanova on the list.
Can you hear me, Mayor?
I can. Please go
Just
ahead.
wanted to make sure. I had an issue with my microphone before. I am again calling notice on a motion that I'd called notice on before, and I just bringing up the title here because I know we have to send that in. And it is honoring the life and legacy of former Mayor Philip Owen. And I wanted to give it the time it deserved and to review
No
that
speeches
with
now.
his
Just
friends
the,
and family.
just
Oh
the
yes,
title.
yes, that's the title. But that's why I'm bringing it forward on November 2nd.
Okay, thanks. We have Councillor Bly.
Thanks very much, Mayor. I have a notice of motion updating the requirement for members of council to rise to speak at council meetings for our next meeting. Sorry, I don't have the date.
Which is November 2nd.
Thank you.
Councillor Swanson.
Yes, I have one called, I'm giving notice of it again, increasing public participation at City Council by providing earlier access to agendas and reports.
And that's for which meeting?
November 2nd.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Fry.
Yeah, November 2nd, two motions. One is plant-based purchasing savings for city and climate. The second is saving lives with community defibrillators and first aid.
Okay, and that's for the next council meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dominato.
Thanks, Mayor. Giving notice on two motions. One, budget transparency and accountability in election years for the November 16th council meeting, and homes for November 2nd.
Okay, thanks very much. For the January 25th council meeting, it's making home housing for all of us. Councillor Kirby-Yung.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I have one notice of motion for the November 2nd council meeting titled Permanently Affordable Housing in Vancouver.
Thank you very much. And that's it. Okay, council, we are now through that section and we're on to new business. We have one item of new business today. That's request for leave. Number of councillors. Councillor Wiebe, October 19th, 12:30 to 4:30. I think we can do these all at once. Councillor Fry, a leave of absence for civic business from meetings from November 18th. Councillor Kirby-Yung, leave of absence for civic business for meetings on November 4th from 3 to 5. Councillor Dominato, leave of absence for personal reasons, October 21st from 6 to 10, November 3rd from 4:30 to 10, and November 4th from 7 to 10. Somebody like to move this? Thank you, Councillor Bly. Seconder? Councillor
Second.
Wiebe. Thank you. I saw Councillor Wiebe on the seconder. Any discussion on these? Don't see any. All in favor, yay. Opposed, nay. And that has passed. Thanks very much. Okay, any other items? I'm just going to go back here. Any other items of new business? Councillor Swanson?
Oh, I have an inquiry.
Okay. I don't see any other items of new business, so we'll go to inquiries and other matters. Councillor Swanson, up to 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Yeah, last week was Homeless Action Week, where the city actually funds groups to do lots of nice things with low-income and homeless people. But at the same time, and all year round, the city instructs its workers to regularly do what folks in the community call street sweeps, where people who are homeless and or vending for necessities are forced to move and sometimes have their possessions taken. Last week, Pivot and Van Du documented 10 tents, 4 patio umbrellas, 3 bags of clothing, 4 duvets, 6 sleeping bags, 2 bicycles, and 1 baby stroller that were taken. I've seen with my own eyes city workers take tents, sleeping bags, sleeping mats, jackets, water bottles, and put them in the garbage. Sometimes the tent or possessions appear to be abandoned because the owner has simply gone to the washroom or to get food. When possessions are taken, there's no place that they can be reclaimed. And the low income or the homeless person from whom they were taken has to start all over again, trying to get what is needed to stay warm and dry. As a result of this, Pivot and Vandu have a campaign calling on the city to remove police from street cleaning crews, replace street sweeps with community-led cleaning crews, rescind bylaws that prohibit vending and sheltering in public space. So I have a couple of questions coming out of this. Does staff intend to meet with street crews to provide clear instructions about not taking possessions? Will staff be meeting with Vandu and Pivot to figure out how to involve more community folks in this process? And could staff report back on which bylaws need to be changed because they criminalize poverty? Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Swanson. To the City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Stewart. So staff, we do, our staff in the downtown east side in particular that do work on cleaning the streets receive significant training on that task and do their utmost to avoid taking people's possessions that haven't been abandoned. Understand that in some cases that has happened. It's certainly not intentional on the part of our staff. In some cases, it's very difficult for them to determine on the ground which materials have been abandoned versus articles that people are looking to retain. So I think in terms of the general intent of that work, it's not to remove people's possessions and dispose of them. It is an issue that certainly we're conscious of, and the concerns that have been expressed by the community is something that we'll continue to work on. It's a very difficult task that our staff are faced with there in terms of maintaining cleanliness on the sidewalks and roadways in the downtown east side, given the circumstances there, both for the individuals who have the unfortunate circumstance of having to sleep outdoors, as well as for the other individuals in the neighborhood who need access through those streets and who have a reasonable expectation of kind of cleanliness and so on. So that it's a really challenging issue for us as staff to manage, and we'll continue to work on that. We do understand that there may be better ways to do this, and we're certainly open to exploring that, and we'll continue to do so. With respect to bylaws, we don't have specific direction from council at this point regarding any changes to bylaws. Those are not easy questions, I would say, for staff, nor would they be for council in terms of changes, and the impacts of changes to bylaws, I would suggest, warrant considerable study and thought on the part of council before we move down that road. So we're certainly open to further direction from council on that. But at this point in time, our focus really is on looking at other alternatives that we have to do the work in the downtown east side. And we'll continue to hear from and engage with community groups in the downtown, including the groups that Councillor Swanson mentioned, as well as many others that have views on this topic. With respect to the participation of the VPD, I can assure you that nobody, including the VPD, wants to be engaged in this work. We all agree that, first of all, policing, the demands on our policing resources are better served elsewhere. But what we have found, and what we've certainly heard from our staff, is there are very significant safety concerns for them in doing this work. And they're in fact unable to do it without protection. So that's the challenge we have. Again, if there are ways for us to look at doing this that does not involve police, we're certainly open to that. We've tried that in the past, and we do have staff that work around the city routinely dealing with issues like this where VPD are not present. So we'll continue to explore that. We certainly understand the concerns that are raised by the community, as well as the resource demands on the VPD. So again, it's a complicated question. Simply removing police as it stands right now without other changes would expose our staff, and we've seen that, would expose our staff to considerable risk. They essentially wouldn't be able to do that work. So happy to provide council with further updates as we continue to examine this. We understand the issues that have been raised by the community, and like I say, this is one of the most complicated issues that we as staff are dealing with day to day as well.
Thanks very much. Councillor Dejanova, up to 5.
Thanks very much. I also have an inquiry through you, Mayor Stewart, to staff, and that is in regards to city-owned property that is leased out to a tenant. Do we require the tenant to clear and keep tidy and clean the sidewalk and the portion of the building that would be considered private property on the side of the city's side that the city would be responsible for out front of their building? is that a requirement in all of our lease contracts with our tenants?
City Manager?
Thanks, Mayor Stewart. We have hundreds of leases, so I couldn't speak to the details of each of those leases. Certainly, though, what we would expect is that the occupants of any space maintain kind of reasonable cleanliness around their business. There are limits on the extent to which landlords or private tenants are required to maintain the public realm in front of their building or in front of their space. So that's an issue we can provide certainly more detail on. I understand the question and happy to follow up with more detail around specific terms that may exist in city leases.
Okay, and I understand that with nonprofit organizations and some organizations that may have that may offer services and provide resources to people that have challenges, that might be challenging. But I'd really appreciate to understand whose obligation that is, if it's the cities or if it's the tenant, and if there was some material that could be hazardous. Who would bear the liability for that? So is that something you could also include in your answer?
Certainly, yes.
Thanks very much. I appreciate that.
Hey, thanks.
And then my next request, if I may, Mayor Stewart, sorry,
Sure, go ahead.
just looking at my list here, is with veterans parking. Now that there's been unanimous support, and I understand the bylaw will be coming on Thursday for
I'm just going to
enactment.
correct you there, Councillor Dejanova. I've just heard from staff that it's coming to council November 2nd.
Oh, my apologies. Coming to council November 2nd. Thank you.
Yep.
I was wondering if staff could note if they would be posting the specific locations and areas that this parking would be granted and free on the city website. Such has been done where it's stated free parking from certain dates in November. So it said that before for the week of Remembrance Day. But I have had inquiries from veterans over this past year that they weren't quite sure where they should park and were quite scared not to park in an area they weren't supposed to. So could that perhaps be more detailed on the city website? That's my question. I've taken it upon myself to get these answers to people, but now that it's permanent, I was hoping we might just have some more detailed information.
City Manager?
Thanks, Mayor Stewart. Yes, we can certainly take away the question and look at how, where that information exists on our website now and ensure that it's clear. So I'm happy to follow up with staff on that.
Thank you very much. And that's all from me.
Thank you. Councillor Kirby-Young, up to 5.
Thanks, Mayor. Are we doing new business and inquiries together, or?
Yep. Well, we've done new business and we're on inquiries and other matters.
Can I still do a new business item, or did I?
We've passed that part of it. So inquiries and other matters. There's.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, my inquiry is just, and it may actually be an inquiry, Mayor, to you, and that is just, you're probably aware of the incredible amount of correspondence that council are receiving with respect to continued broken windows and other issues in specific neighborhoods, particularly downtown. I know that the VPD has issued some public statements with respect to deployment of bike patrols and other tactics and measures they're taking. But we're council are getting quite a lot of inquiries in terms of what additional measures may be taken, and I wonder in your capacity as chair of the police board if you can speak to whether this is something that's an ongoing item on the police board agenda, or if there are other measures that you're aware of that are coming forward. We're just getting a lot of concern coming forward.
Yeah, I would direct that to the police board. For me, I'm chairing the meetings, but the official spokesperson role has been assumed by the vice chair, Faye Whiteman. So, I've agreed that she will be the official spokesperson for the board. So I won't be speaking in those items, but I suggest you steer your inquiry their way.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Dominato.
Thanks, Mayor. And just a question for you to the city manager. On behalf of residents, we're receiving quite a bit of correspondence with respect to proposed changes and upgrades to the Central Valley Greenway. And having spoken with a number of residents, and the date for feedback, I believe, closed yesterday. If the city manager could provide an update to council, but also if there's an opportunity, curious if there's an opportunity to provide an update on our website as well with respect to the proposed upgrade, because we have been fielding quite a few calls and correspondence on the subject, and people aren't clear about the purpose of the upgrades, but also how it will work in terms of traffic flows. So we're just looking for a bit more information.
Thanks. Yeah, so our engineering team is definitely aware of the questions that are being posed and the correspondence that council is receiving on that. They are working on an update for council. So you will be seeing that come forward in the coming days.
Great, thank you. And then a second question, probably most appropriate to the mayor, and it is just with respect to the urban mayor's call for complex care housing. And I'm just curious, Mayor, if you have an update from your perspective as to the status of that work in terms of in discussions with the province and with the other major municipalities.
Thanks, Councillor Dominato. Yes, we've the BC Urban Mayors Caucus. This is the top priority for all the 13 mayors on who are in that group. So we have engaged in extensive discussions with the province, the Premier, with David Eby, Minister of Housing, as well as Sheila Malcolmson, Minister Malcolmson. And so we already seeing money flow from the province into some units. So we've seen it here directly in Vancouver in some of our modular housing projects. But we understand now that there is additional funds that have been earmarked from the province to expand what is proving to be a very successful model of providing mental health care within housing units. So again, we're working together as a group to ensure this model is used right across the province.
Thank you for that, Mayor. I appreciate the update. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wade.
Yeah, first one's a follow-up on Councillor Dominato's question. I'm just wondering when we're going to get a report back on the Greenway refresh, recognizing that not only Central Valley, but we're getting a lot of communication from DPACs and others on the 37th Greenway, as well as the our Alberta Street Greenway. So I'm just wondering when we're going to get a refresh on that strategy, recognizing we're getting a lot of correspondence on components of it, but I think if the public knew the greater plan, it would be much easier.
Thanks, Councillor. Yeah, staff have received that request and are working on an update that we can provide to you.
Thank you. Second one, since we've all been elected downstairs, there's been an architectural model of the proposed development on the east side of Cambie Bridge. Do you know when we're going to see at this council any work brought forward on that city-owned land on the east side of the Cambie Street Bridge?
So our real estate team is actively working on the development plan for that site. So that's Site 1A. It's part of the East Falls Creek official development plan. The team is, like I say, is actively engaged on that. I don't have a specific time frame for you, Councillor, in terms of when we're going to be in a position to do that. My hope is that we would have an update, kind of more substantive update for Council in 2022.
Thank you. My next one is on the housing affordability choices. It was talked about last year when we were approving tiny homes, referring the making room work, that we would get a report back on the affordable housing choices for 2021. I'm just wondering when we'll get that report back.
So we did provide, and I maybe may need to clarify your question. We did provide council with an overall update on kind of housing, our annual housing report earlier in the year. And then there's the various different kind of changes that have been brought through as quick starts from the Vancouver planning process. But maybe I'm missing your question.
Okay, I'll forward in. It was conversation about an opportunity to look at different affordable housing choices, what those would look like, including the referral of the making room work, as well as tiny homes, and could we do a pilot project for 2021? And there's a bunch of different elements that we're supposed to get a report back. It'd be nice to get that
Certainly. So I think, yeah, the way we're coming at that, Councillor, is as reports on distinct elements of that. So tiny homes is a specific piece of work that staff are doing and are preparing a report back for council on that particular piece of work. And then, like I say, there were the quick starts that came through as part of the Vancouver plan that council's now agreed, making their way through kind of the zoning changes. So it's I think we're addressing those as distinct reports as opposed to an omnibus.
Okay, thank you. My last one is on Big Move 6, GPAC 2.0, Urban Forest Strategy, Biodiversity Strategy. That report's supposed to come back as well as this year, and recognizing we're going into November, I'm just wondering when we're going to see the report back on those elements.
So staff will be bringing forward to you in November the overall report on the Climate Emergency Action Plan. So an update, it will include Big Move 6. We are not going to be bringing forward at that time a specific strategy around Big Move 6, but you'll get the overall picture of where we're at on that particular item as one element of the overall Climate Emergency Action Plan report.
Will the Carina City 2.0 work in urban forests be included in that, recognizing that we continue to put out stuff that talks about our urban forest strategy, but we haven't actually seen the numbers in a few years. I'm just wondering, will that be part of that report back?
Yeah, it's at this stage, I'll go back and confirm with the team, Councillor, the extent to which that particular issue would be addressed in there.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councillor Bly.
Thanks very much, Mayor. So yeah, I would like to just acknowledge that October is Dyslexia Awareness Month. And if I may just share from the Dyslexia Canada website their statement. Market Red is the official Canadian celebration for Dyslexia Awareness Month. And this is the 4th annual national awareness raising campaign. Each year across Canada, monuments and buildings are lit up red, schools and workplaces wear red, and cities and towns sign proclamations to officially declare the month of October as Dyslexia Awareness Month. I don't believe we have that proclamation yet in Vancouver, but it certainly would be my intention to bring that forward given that opportunity next October. Market Red has also been listed on the Government of Canada website as a health promotion month. So if I may just share that the theme this year is Empowering Voices, and it intends to inspire young people across Canada to be proud that they are powered by dyslexia, as well as to provide a platform for young voices to be heard. Helping to empower these voices will allow those with dyslexia to learn how to self-advocate for their educational needs. So my inquiry is to the city manager, if we have done, I don't believe we've seen it, but if we could light City Hall in red before the end of this month to acknowledge October as Dyslexia Awareness Month.
Thanks, Councillor. We're just confirming whether we have received a request for that, but we can update you on that and we'll take it away. Understand that you're making the request now.
Great, thank you very much. If I may, just Council indulge me on a personal note. As a mother of a son with dyslexia, this year's campaign is incredibly inspiring. And just would like to thank the ongoing work of teachers, tutors, advocates, and those who lift up the voices and minds of people living with dyslexia in the community. It is called, and certainly is, as far as I've seen, a superpower, and we must continue to work so that all young minds can thrive, no matter how learning can differ from person to person. Thank you.
Councillor Bly. Councillor Dejanova. I have a minute and a half.
Thanks so much. Just wanted to add my voice to this also and share, Mayor Stewart, that we have all been offered red T-shirts on behalf of, because it is Dyslexia Awareness Month, and those T-shirts will be coming next week, actually, to councillors. So I want to share that, and also to lend my voice of support to Councillor Bly's point. And if we could have this done sooner, my request or consideration, if it requires a council motion, is I understand the mayor can issue a proclamation at any time without a council vote. So perhaps that's a way forward, but I'll leave that to Councillor Bly. But as a city councillor, as a person who myself lives with dyslexia and has dyslexia, I wanted to also shine a light on the fact that there are so many people worldwide that do not know they have dyslexia, that suffer with literacy issues and don't receive the right tools that they need to meet their potential. And there are many wonderful organizations in Canada and right here in the city of Vancouver that do provide that help. But the awareness is also getting kids or even adults tested. And I just wanted to note that as well. Just further to Councillor Bly's very well made points on that. But as someone who lives with dyslexia myself, I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Councillor Fry.
Yeah. And just to also acknowledge that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I'm wearing a pink ribbon that many of us were also supplied. Just want to acknowledge that here in Canada, 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. And since a peak rate in 1986, we've seen significant reductions, about 48%, thanks to early screening, mammograms, and the like. And just also acknowledging the volunteers and the Run for the Cure that happens this month, and just highlighting the awareness of breast cancer for Canadians in this month as well.
Thank you, Councillor Fry. Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, thanks. I'll continue the commemorative note, but more celebratory, and just wish our Vancouver Muslim community a very happy Eid in terms of breaking their fast at the end of Ramadan. This is a very celebratory time for the community, and wanted to extend our best wishes to everybody that in Vancouver that is celebrating. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it for inquiries and other matters. Councillor Harwick, do you want to motion to adjourn? Seconder? Councillor Bly, thank you. All in favor of adjourning, say yay.
Yay.
Opposed,
Yay.
nay. Great, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Clerks, we're good. Anything else to? No. We'll see you on Thursday for the standing committee meeting. Thanks very much, staff. Thanks everybody for your time today.